Hey, what's going on, everybody? Armand Owens coming with another episode of the Unsung Leader Daily Leadership Nugget. Today is May the 12th, and yesterday my video ignited some wonderful conversation, and I knew that it would. First and foremost, I want to make sure that you understand why I'm doing this. I am a product of leadership that was brash, to say the least. And one of my goals in continuing on with my naval service and having leadership become, one of my life's biggest passions is that you can still be a human being and be in charge, right? And obviously that's a little bit of tongue in cheek, but here's the deal: you can be compassionate, you can be empathetic, and you can still be demanding and get the results that you are looking for, and in most times even better, because you're facilitating an environment where people can be autonomous, where they can grow, where they can ask questions, and they can ultimately overtake you. So that's the whole point of me doing this, right? So when I talk about motivation versus leverage, I want you to understand something. When I talk about leverage, by no means am I talking about manipulation. By no means at all. Here's what I'm talking about when I talk about leverage. One of the things that we fail to do when we start leading people is understand the people we lead, what they actually need, who these people are, what makes them tick, what makes them move, what generates passion within them. And I think that is extremely important to understand and appreciate someone's world, how they see the world, what they find fascinating, what it is they do in their free time. I am always asking these things, not from a point of, hey, how can I find this out to be able to manipulate them and to do what I want? No, because sometimes we need somebody to push us. Sometimes we need somebody to challenge us. And if I know what you value and you are acting outside or contrary to what you value, you're doing right. I'm going to use that against you, to get the best version of yourself out of you. Now, I just remember, growing up, and I was relentless in just about everything that I've ever done. And I got into an altercation when I was playing sports in my 11th grade year, where I wanted to quit my track team because I had an altercation with the coach. And I was only looking at the altercation. I was only looking at the relationship between the coach. I didn't even see it, as quitting. And my dad, he only, said a couple of words. My dad was a man of few words. And he only said a few words. He's like, I never took you for the quitting type. And that thing riled me up so much because he knew me. He knew what I valued. I valued finishing. I valued, being the best. I valued excellence. And he knew that just that small little phrase, was going to get me to deal with the issues, the relational issues between me, and my coach. Because the bigger picture is, hey, I don't define myself as a quitter. And that's one of the biggest forces in human nature. That's one of the strongest force in our human personality, is that we have an absolute need to remain consistent with who we define ourselves as, right? So understanding those things about, the people that you lead, it's not a means of manipulation, right? It's being a leader, right? Because, for me, growing up and coming through this thing, there are people strategically placed, in my life that have challenged me at every turn. And if they didn't know me, if they didn't understand what I value, they didn't understand who I was, not just in the uniform, but as a person, as a man, they couldn't have got me to do anything, right? So they leveraged that force within me that defined myself in a certain way, right? It's not manipulation. That's just being challenged, because a lot of times we get to a place where it's hard to challenge ourselves. It's hard to, because we've gotten comfortable. We've reached a level of success, and we're not challenging ourselves anymore. We're not putting ourselves in uncomfortable positions anymore, and it requires somebody having some knowledge of who you are, to push those buttons, so to speak, right? So that's more so what I was speaking on, because in terms of just motivation, the question I responded to was that I get asked all the time: how do I motivate somebody to do what I want them to do? Right? And a lot of times that speaks to just extrinsic motivation, right? How can I what can I give somebody in exchange for their performance? That is what I'm speaking on. That is fleeting. That is non-sustainable, right? So I'm glad that it elicited so much conversation. But at the end of the day, for me, how I gain leverage is in an effort, to get the best version of somebody to come forward. Right? That's why I want to understand who you are, right? And I want to understand every aspect about you. I want to understand, where you came from, why you're here, what makes you get up in the morning, who's the most important person, in your life, what do you want to accomplish, right? Because I want to use those things to, when those times in your life, show up where you don't want to show up the best way possible. You just want to do just enough to get by. Now, as a leader, it's my job to challenge you to bring the best version of yourself, every single day, right? And extrinsic motivation isn't the thing that's going to do that, right? And gaining leverage is about learning, understanding somebody's world, appreciating their world while you're learning about it as well, and challenging them, demanding them to be the best version of themselves. I hope you didn't think that everything that I was going to talk about was going to be rainbows and unicorns and all nice. No, there is some demanding aspects of leadership. Just like there's some demanding aspects of coaching. That coaching, leadership, synonymous, right? So you're going to want to utilize those things, utilize that leverage, as you learn about people, to get the best out of them, right? It's not manipulation, right? Because at the end of the day, you care about the people that you lead. You want them to be successful. And, that's not manipulation. That's just a little bit of inspiration, right? But I'm glad that it garnered so much, so much conversation. I'm glad for the questions. I'm glad for the feedback. I appreciate it. But I hope you know where I'm coming from and what I mean. Please, if you got any more questions, you got any more, concerns about what I'm talking about, come, hey, bring them to the table. I love it. I love it. Let's keep the dialogue going so we can all get better every single day. One of the things that we got to know about who we are is that our families deserve the best version of ourselves. This country deserves the best version of ourselves, and we deserve the best version of ourselves, right? Because it's unexplainable what we are able to attain when we bring that person to bear every single day. So that's my goal. Hope you understand where I'm coming from. If you don't, leave a comment. If you do, leave a like. Appreciate you. See you tomorrow.